I know what you're thinking. And yes, this mustache is real. So how's this for a fact? America is celebrating 200 plus years of being a nation. Part of the reason we've survived for so long is because rather than pushing people away for their differences, we've come to embrace the diversity of everybody, effectively becoming a melting pot of different peoples. Now, I know what you're thinking. How could America, the greatest country ever, possibly have any flaws with it whatsoever? Well, we've always been a bit sensitive to change. When African Americans were enslaved on US plantations, many were hesitant to let them go free. And by hesitant, I of course mean 4-year-long civil war. If America wants to succeed and thrive as a nation, it's going to have to not only find the changes that are coming up recently, but also fully embrace them. Now here are some changes that 21st century Americans are going to have to face, and how to properly deal with them. Technology has managed to evolve on a global scale. With new emerging types of media such as email and Facebook, we can now communicate with people on a global scale, something barely achievable in the past. And we absolutely need to utilize this. Yes, a lot of illicit activities can happen on the internet. However, the good definitely outweighs the bad. Yes, receiving a counterfeit handbag would suck, but it can't compare to the joy of a grandmother who's finally able to communicate with her 5-year-old grandson who's halfway across the world in some third world underdeveloped country. Through the power of Skype. With a rise in new technology, not only can we as Americans combine together our strengths and communicate with each other, but we can also connect on a global scale. We can communicate with other nations on a brand new level never seen before. Never possible before. Not only through the power of the internet can we combine our ideas, as well as share them with each other, but we can also integrate them into how it is we choose to live our lives in the future. We can overcome the porn and conquer the nation's scorn. Okay, that didn't make sense. That sounded way smarter in my head. Basically, we can use technology to better unite as a nation, as well as on a global scale. As nice as the idea is that everyone will have the same amount of wealth, it really isn't a fair system when you think about it. After all, why should someone who works 2 hours a day sitting at a desk make the same amount of money as a backbreaking field worker who works for 12 hours a day and both men receive the same wage? Now, unfortunately, this idea of economic inequality is becoming a much more prevalent problem as America progresses into the 21st century. Many of the rich seem to be getting richer, and many of the poor seem to be getting poorer. There's a definite widening of this inequality gap. So, what should America do to address this issue? Well, as America grows, it should consider the possibility of a buddy system. What I mean by this is that those people who are more wealthy or have more resources should feel a moral obligation to help those in need. Not just in the US, but around the globe. It is only through this altruism that America can continue to survive, not only as a nation, but as a piece in a global puzzle. By taking responsibility to help those poorer and less fortunate, we can help to, while we can't eliminate the disparity between rich and poor, we can certainly help alleviate the effects that it is imposing. It's time for America to realize a cold hard fact. Women are stronger than the domestic chains that they've been oppressed with. For the context of the past, when opportunity was relatively small for women, yes, it would have been better for the woman to have remained at home and taken care of the children. But this is the 21st century, an era dominated by industrialization, a rising sense of technology and innovation, as well as rising opportunity for women. There are simply more things a woman can do now. We are now in an era where hunting and gathering are no longer necessary for the human species to survive. Rather, it's embracing these industrial changes. Whether she's a superstar tennis player or president of Harvard University, women are versatile creatures and America needs to know just how to utilize them. It still baffles me as to why a lot of people don't like the new influx of immigration into the United States from other countries. Yes, there will be some negative side effects. For example, certain jobs may be harder to acquire, and certain colleges may be harder to get into. I'm looking at you, Indians. What makes America unique and practically gives it its identity is the fact that it is, in fact, a melting pot of many different nations. The United States doesn't have one fixed culture. It has a diverse range of cultures, a mixing of cultures even. And yes, you would be accurate in thinking that this diversity should tear us apart. But oddly enough, it actually seems to be bringing America together. It's great to be able to see black lawyers defend white clients, or vice versa. To be able to see people looking at each other not as a race or a denomination, but as a person, as a human being. While America still has a long ways to go in regards to dealing with the differences of its citizens, it's certainly doing a much better job now than it was just 50 years ago. America needs to continue this trend of accepting the differences of other people. By making allies, we will be able to be stronger as a nation. We won't be distracted by the angers of our differences because we'll be too busy focused on supporting each other and being there for each other. America's a great nation, and it can become a greater nation if it'll just recognize these changes and learn how to properly respond to them. Just try not to be phony about it, America.